We go to Community Forum. Mr General Manager, is there any registered speakers for tonight's Community Forum?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. There is one registered speaker. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Chang Lim. And
who's here in the audience. Welcome.
And I'll read it out for your pleasure. Good
Please
evening, Mayor Byrne, Deputy Mayor Uno, Councillors, Mr General Manager, Senior Staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chang Lim. I'm the CEO of the Australian Childcare Alliance, New South Wales. First, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you again as a peak body representing 1,600 early childhood education and care services owned and operated overwhelmingly by small to medium-sized family businesses. You will recall almost exactly a year ago on 10th of March 2020 that I addressed you about the continuing oversupply of childcare services in many parts of Australia and that parts of your local government area are not immune. You recall me saying that although normal economic law says that increases of supply will push prices down, however, virtually everyone, including the media and in brackets especially the Australian Financial Review, close brackets, have since recognised that the oversupply of childcare has not brought fees down at all. And ironically, the Commonwealth Government has been consistently reporting an extremely high proportion of early childhood education and care services having vacancies. In fact, the most recent report stated that 93% of long day care, 93% of family day care, and 95% of out of school hours care services had vacancies. These statistics happen to also be the highest reported since the Commonwealth began reporting in 2012, that is 9 years ago. And to this day, reports of actual demand are received by the Federal Government electronically every Friday, yet that important aggregated information that could inform the market as to where there is oversupply and undersupply remains unavailable. As this Council would be aware, ACA New South Wales has been agitating for common sense improvements in the planning and approval system in New South Wales, especially since 2017, where the State Environmental Planning Policy, in brackets, educational establishments and childcare facilities, close brackets, 2017 was introduced. You will be aware that local councils' powers have consequently been restricted in what development applications they can reject in the interest of increasing supply in the belief of satisfying parents' demands. Yet when proposed childcare services either start small, plan to have or are likely to exceed a large capacity, say over 75 children, the consequences for children can exponentially become more complicated, especially when they are to operate in any multi-storey building. And by way of reference, the largest childcare centre in Australia operates in Greater Sydney with up to 300 children under their care. Thankfully, the review of this SEP has also conceded a number of its flaws. For one, it has agreed to restore all council powers to have proximity separation between any existing early childhood education and care service provider with the proposed new one. That said, that this does not address all articulated concerns to date, and ACA New South Wales concerns are also reflected by other government and non-government reviews currently underway. For your easy reference, I've written to every councillor of the Hills Shire, referring you to our submission and our continuing concerns as part of the review of the SEP. The southern neighbour, the City of Parramatta, has similar concerns and recently resolved to conduct a workshop with leaders of early childhood education and care sector to jointly explore what actions that council and local governments could take in order to address all challenges. ACA New South Wales respectfully suggests the Hills Shire Council might like to conduct a similar deep dive workshop too with the early childhood education care sector leaders, and we would happily volunteer ourselves alongside others. Once again, I thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions on that one?
Yes.
Councillor Ganjemi.
Madam Mayor, through you to the General Manager, is it true that before this SEP that's mentioned came in, the Hills Council did not allow childcare centres in the R2 zone, but because of this SEP, our controls were overruled and now they are allowed in the R2 residential zone?
Yes, Madam Mayor, through you, that's true. The childcare was a mandated land use in the R2 zone. Previous to that, we were able to control what land uses go in what zone, and the council had, up until that time, had a prohibition of that land use in the R2 residential zone.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Very quickly, can you give us a very brief overview of where the review of this SEP is? Is there any prospect that councils will be given that choice again where we could possibly prohibit childcare centres in the R2 zone? Because right now we're getting, every time there's a DA, I'm getting complaints, whether it's in Borkham Hills or in Box Hill, I'm getting complaints from residents saying that residential amenity can't be guaranteed with childcare centres in the R2 zones. No matter what the assessments say, we want to be able to represent our residents in the best way, and I feel that that is the best way to be able to do it.
Yeah, look, Madam Mayor, I can't give a concrete answer as to whether I think that will be restored or not, but it's something that is entirely consistent with the council's position at any opportunity. That's a stated position of the council. Our preference is, and you're quite right, the most controversial application we get is a childcare centre in a R2 low density zone. Not particularly controversial in other zones.
So one last question. So where's the review of the set at generally? What's the in the process?
Madam Mayor, I think it's with government, but I'll take that question on notice and get a little bit more up-to-date information for you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. General Manager.
Thank you. Any further questions?